There we go. Now it started. Oh yeah, got him. You gotta stay hydrated, especially when you're looking at, you know, between 1 to 2 hours of constant talking. Reading fan fiction, hopefully good fan fiction. Excuse me. All right. Where did my notes go? I lost track of my notes. There they are. Dude, that Steven Signs guy, I can't believe he is only just now getting to Dead Space. God, such an old game. I played that game many, many years ago. What's up, Unjust? How you do? Yeah, back when I streamed at night. Well, 2020 lasted 80 years, so that makes sense. All right. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? 3, 2, 1. Coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech, all EU cars are now required to watch you. Linux says that AI is welcome on their platform. Xbox is beginning what we're just going to refer to as the cleansing. And Nvidia launched some new cards. Unfortunately for you, they're just trading cards. All that and more coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. You have the 08 version on your Steam account? I don't know which. I'm pretty sure mine's the 2008 version, but it's been so long. All cars should be watching everyone. I don't want to be watched. Especially by a car. That's just awkward for everyone involved. I'll get people over being camera shy real quick. I'll get people to stop driving. You don't want to be watched? Well, the thing is that cars don't count for ad views, so 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m. Good morning, this is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. I'm sorry for missing last week. This wasn't feeling completely 100%. No, it was not the case of the Taco Bell parasite. It couldn't be that cool. I couldn't say I had a serious case of the Taco Bell. Nah, it was just something very minor, but it was enough to just keep me like, I just can't. You know, it just is what it is. So we got a double packed episode this week. Although, granted, I did cut out a lot of fluff. So there's a very good chance this ends up being the same length of a normal episode anyway. But I still included some fun stories that do make you go, well then, kind of like this one. DuckDuckGo is now bragging that their web browser blocks YouTube ads by default. So for those of you who are out of the loop, okay, YouTube has been going out of their way, and by YouTube I mean Google as a whole, has been going out of their way to do everything they can so that ad blockers do not function on Chrome. Someone might try to bring up an antitrust lawsuit there, but, you know, good luck. Now, right now, there are what are they called now? Are they called plugins? Are they called add-ons? What are they called on extensions? There are extensions that still do work on Chrome. One of the biggest ad blocker extensions, YouTube or uBlock Origin, now no longer works. I'll just be blunt. I'll just tell you exactly what I use. I do use a ad blocker on my Chrome simply because so many of these websites that I use for the podcast are more ads than article. And many of these ads go ahead and inject all kinds of fun nonsense in. So it's almost a safety thing that you have to enable this sort of stuff. So the one I enter is called uBlock Lite, I believe. Let me actually take a look on my side. Copy here. uBlock Origin Lite is what it's called, and it still does work. So if you're looking for one, that's the one to go. Or you can just go ahead and just use the DuckDuckGo web browser, which does have a built-in ad blocker that does block YouTube ads. So that's up to you. Now, one other thing to also talk about, and I actually forgot to go ahead and grab it in my rush to go ahead and put together a show for today. There is an active lawsuit right now going against YouTube. This is actually a really funny one, and I don't know what the end result is, but a lot of people are predicting the end result is, it sounds like it's going to be bad for YouTube creators. So here's the thing. YouTube has a premium version. It's just called YouTube Premium. You know, the thing that every month it seems like I keep bringing up a story that says that next month YouTube Premium is going up in price by about $1. At least that's what it seems like. In addition to a number of other features, YouTube Premium also is supposed to offer ad-free viewing of YouTube, which it does. But there's a problem. A lot of YouTube creators have sponsors. So as part of the raw video, there is an ad in the video that the YouTube content creator has made by themselves that has nothing to do with YouTube. The thing is that the exact wording on the YouTube Premium service says that it blocks all ads on YouTube. Let me tell you something. All is a very powerful word. It's the reason why soaps or disinfectants never say all viruses or all germs or all infectants. They give a 99.9 just in case you find that one weird thing that it just doesn't get rid of. So now there's an active lawsuit against YouTube saying that YouTube Premium doesn't block all ads. because various YouTube content creators inject their own ads into their own videos because they picked up a sponsor for that specific video. What do you think the end result's going to be? A lot of people are worried that the end result of that lawsuit is going to be that YouTube creators are either A, not going to be allowed to have their own sponsors, or B, that YouTube is going to go ahead and use the power of AI to include some way to automatically skip those sponsor segments. Even though already there is a tested skip button integrated into some YouTube videos already. Someone in chat said this podcast is brought to you by, we actually don't have a sponsor. I want to talk about another story. Stream Elements, where I used to get my sponsors, has not had any new sponsors at all. So we've been able to get nothing for the podcast. We are 100% doing this for the love of the game right now. Which is a little unfortunate, not gonna lie. But you know, it just is what it is. What can you do? Yeah, that's what's going on with YouTube right now. I might have a few YouTube stories later on. I actually can't remember. Here is another story that kind of really feels like it came out of left field. Reports are coming in that OnePlus is going to be quote unquote dead. OnePlus, if you don't know, was a phone brand that was started as a quote unquote flagship killer. You see, back in the day, this is going to sound surreal. Back in the day, smartphones were getting expensive. They were reaching all the way up to $600, and that was considered absurd for a smartphone. Yeah, don't look at me like I'm crazy. That's how it was back in the day. Okay, so OnePlus was coming out as the concept of being near flagship phone performance for significantly more affordable prices, down in like the $300-$400 area, and that's where they got started. Now, unfortunately, OnePlus has been kind of creeping further and further and further up into being flagship prices themselves. Although nowadays, when you've got phones like Apple getting up to $1,200 as a starting point for their biggest one, Samsung being up to $1,300 for their high-end Ultra phone, or, you know, well into the $2,500 range for their folding phones. You look at the highest end phones that are not like boutique one-offs, and it looks like we're living in Looney Tunes land. With no headphone jacks, I might add. For all you people that are just like, I don't want to buy a no headphone jack, even though you don't have any, let's be honest. The wired headphones you have and right now, they're on their last legs. I'm telling you, just Bluetooth earpiece. Godsend. Not the best, but it is what it is. Real talk though, I would actually, if I had the choice between headphone jack or SD card slot, no joke, I would take SD card slot over the headphone jack. Someone in chat says, I have both. I'd love both. Unfortunately, most phones want to give neither. But in any case, The OnePlus brand is expected to be announced as dead, and Oppo, who eventually bought OnePlus, is expected to withdraw from the EU and US. Now, this is what's really fascinating to me, okay? Pulling out of the US, okay. Yeah, trade negotiations haven't been exactly a strong suit of the US in recent years. It's been not great, to say the least. Pulling out of the US, I could understand that. I know what the cause would be. Why the EU? Like, that's the X factor here. What's going on? Why? I don't understand. Why is it that the EU and the US are going to be having Oppo pull out entirely? But in any case, that is what the early reports are talking about right now. It may turn out that something else is going to be happening, but this announcement is expected, quote, within the coming days, unquote. Now, of course, this move is going to be one that's going to be a ways out. Like, the current reports are saying that this move isn't going to be finalized until January of next year. So, we'll have to wait and see exactly how it all goes down. It'll be a shame. It really will be. Almost as big a shame as all the EU cars, all the cars in Europe are now going to be required to have a camera aimed at the driver's face. The new law that was passed is going to require all cars moving forward in the EU to have some method of staring at the driver and making sure they're paying attention 100% of the time. Cool. Thanks. That sounds just fantastic. Someone in chat says a few drops of paint. Then you're in violation of the law. Isn't that great? Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of this at all. Like, you would think I wouldn't care. I'm a good driver. I actually love driving, for that fact. And you know, I also stream. So you'd think, you know, I'm comfortable with the camera pointing at me. Here's the thing. I know where this camera goes. I have full control of this camera. I know everything it's doing. The best part about this EU law is that nobody is sure who's going to be watching the cameras. Like, we're already at a problem point of it just feeling like we have no privacy in our lives ever. So now it's just going to go over to who knows where? Someone in chat just assumes it's going to go straight to AI. I mean, that's probably a safe bet. But who knows? Someone in chat says, why have flock cameras in your neighborhood when they can be installed in every car? Oh, don't get me started about the flock cameras. I mean, fortunately, at least in my neck of the woods, we don't have any such cameras. And quite frankly, considering the mentality of our area here, I don't see Flock getting a good foothold. So that's that. Someone in chat asked, does this include all cars on the road in the EU now? No. All newly manufactured cars must comply with this law. So any car that is currently on the road right now is exempt from the law. You do not need to take your you do not need to go ahead and take your 97 Saab or Dacia Sandero or whatever the heck else is driven in the EU and get it retrofitted to stalk you. That is not something you need to do. I know like no European car brand. I know this. I know Dacia and I know Saab, and that's about it. So, you know, yay. What a great law that helps someone. In other news though, the EU will be forcing Google to share its search data and open up AI on Android so that all of the AI features on Android can in fact be powered by whatever AI you prefer. Which, if that's the case, that's hilarious. I'm going to go ahead and make the most brain dead AI. Have it be powered by a Palm Pilot in my living room, and say all my AI features are going through that, and thus brick all the AI on the phone. So, yay for that. In the end, though, I mean, it's good, I guess. But one thing you should always keep in mind, especially considering the previous story, never assume the EU is out for the betterment of everyone. Because they're just as willing to go ahead and compromise any kind of privacy you had for the sake of being quote unquote safe. Just look at all the spy cars that are now being made. It's great. It's fantastic, and everyone is happy about it. By the by, Google has in fact lost officially and has now settled with Epic Games regarding their lawsuit of being a monopoly on the platform. And now Google is going to be opening up third-party app stores on their app store, so you can download other stores through the Play Store. So I mean, that will be confusing. So I mean, that's going to be a thing that's going to be starting on July 22nd. So this upcoming Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. So I mean, there's that, I guess. Someone in chat says 3 more days and Steam can be on phones, theoretically. Valve would have to first make a version of Steam for Android. Someone in chat says they have a Steam app on their phone. So if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong in this regard, I'm pretty sure the Steam app on their phones is just for, but it's just meant for like Steam chat. Like the actual Steam app has like a chat system in there, and there's also like a 2-factor authentication system in there. This is to be allowing stores, period. So like there's an Epic Games Store for Android. That will now have to be available in the Google Play Store. If Valve wanted to shift to mobile games, they could make a version of Steam for mobile exclusively. But that would either Valve's been working on that super secretly, or that Valve would need some time to work on that, because clearly Valve's focus right now has been on hardware, which unfortunately blew up in their face because the cost of RAM exploded. And I can't blame Valve for that. It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, nobody's happy about it. All right, well now I'm thoroughly depressed about the whole thing. Let's instead focus on something a little more juicy. Something more interesting. Something more... Wait, what? Apple is suing OpenAI over trade secret theft. Wait, what? So apparently, Apple was working with OpenAI. We knew that because they were trying to do that with, remember when they tried to do AI-powered Siri? And then it just kind of fell apart and just didn't happen for a year? Now it is happening again, but this time on Gemini. Apparently during that time, OpenAI allegedly has stolen trade secrets from Apple and are now being sued for it. Which honestly, considering the fact that almost all, AI models out there are built on stolen data, I find it really oddly satisfying when finally one of these AI companies are being bitten back for all of this. Someone in chat says, are they sure they want to do this? I think so. I mean, here's the thing. Apple isn't like sue happy or anything, right? Like, Apple doesn't really sue often. They might go ahead and file like, a cease and desist, or they might threaten legal action for like some sort of counterfeiter or something like that. But usually Apple is one that just, they just do their thing and then everyone copies them and then Apple shifts and does something else. That's usually the way Apple runs. They very rarely sue anyone. It's not like Nintendo, who is willing to come down like the fist of an angry god anytime someone threatens to make a Pokemon fan game. So the fact that Apple actually is willing to go ahead and go after OpenAI for this, there's something else going on here. Like, there's something big and juicy at work here. I have no earthly idea what, but I want to know. I really do want to know. And this is going to be one that, trust me, I'm going to try and keep as close an eye on this as possible, even though the odds are pretty high that this is just going to be settled out of court. Someone in chat says many of the companies are losing money hand over fist because of the fact that nobody wants the freaking AI. So yes, the thing is that this isn't about the fact that they wanted services from OpenAI. It's the fact that while they were working for OpenAI, while they're working with OpenAI to try and bring their services to the iPhone or to the Mac, OpenAI allegedly stole some type of critical information from Apple, and now they're going after them for those damages. That's all the details we have so far. And again, very, very curious to know how it's going to go down. Speaking of AI, where you don't want it, Nokia is saying that the next era of cellular radio is going to be the industry's first AI native RAN platform. Oh, goody. So does that mean that the cell signal and cell strength is going to hallucinate to be stronger or weaker than it actually is? So someone in chat asks, what is a RAN? I believe, and I don't have the definition in front of me, but I'm pretty sure RAN is short for region area network. So like under one cell tower that covers a greater region is one RAN. Now, does this mean that for sure this vaguely AI powered network somehow is definitely going to be what ends up being 6G? There's no real indication that's going to be the thing. For those of you who are young or just didn't care about technology back in the day, there used to actually be a big amount of hype whenever we were coming out with a new generation of network. All right. There used to be like a big, like, there of course used to be first gen cellular connections, nothing really big there. You know, send and receive phone calls, send and receive texts through SMS. Then you had 2G or what a lot of places called Edge, which could also now send and receive data at low speeds. And then we had 3G. Ooh. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I did not prepare for this this history lesson at all. 3G or third gen was referred to as the oh god, I'm now blanking on, it started with a G. What was the 3G? Not 3F, 3G. .3G network. But I can't find the actual, like, GSM, that's what it was. 3G was powered by what was called GSM. Now, when we were switching from 3G to 4G, there actually was a push to try and make a refined version of GSM, which was then called GSM Plus, into 4G. In fact, some of you longtime listeners will actually remember back in the day when AT&T actually pushed out GSM Plus and called it 4G, when that actually wasn't going to be what 4G ended up being. 4G actually ended up being a technology known as LTE. And then 5G is its own thing. 5G, I can't even tell you what 5G is called. But we also had shortwave LTE. We also had shortwave 5G, which was really fast, but isn't really used widely except in like big cities. Most people end up using this like widespread 5G, but you get the idea, right? So this first quote unquote AI native RAN platform that Nokia is working on, that could be 6G. It also could not be. But here's the other thing, really. The reason the push from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G was so big was because the speeds on the older cellular platforms sucked. Anyone who had a 3G smartphone back in the day knows that you'd end up with a lot of buffering. You'd actually end up with a lot of problems with 3G. 4G was a huge step up because it was something like, what, 500% faster? Oddly enough, now on 5G, your speeds are your download and upload speeds are faster, but the response times actually feel longer sometimes. It doesn't feel like that much of an upgrade. But we're up to something like, 80 to 100 megs up and down, depending on your signal strength on 5G. So how much better is 6G going to be, especially when most of the time in your cell phone, you have a data cap anyway, which we're not proud of or not thrilled with. And yes, even those of you like myself that have so-called unlimited data, you know what happens after 20 gigs or 26 gigs or however much your totally not a cap is. You get to keep playing, but your speeds are cut down drastically. They throttle you. It's just the nature of the beast. It just is, unfortunately, what it is. So will this catch on? Who knows? How good does it be? Who knows? All we can do is wait and see. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, I got some more AI news, some of which actually is good news. Illinois passing a new AI law, and what does Linus Torvalds, the guy in charge of Linux, have to say about AI himself? Don't go anywhere. We will be back. All right. Thank you for sharing that. I'll make sure to get that actually right as we get back into it. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. By the way, just a little like tidbit that came up during the break, kind of going back on the topic we were just talking about you know, cell phone technologies. T-Mobile is actually about to shut down their 2G GSM network in August. They're actually going to be the last major US network to completely eliminate 2G technology. I'm not gonna lie, I thought they already did it. I thought we were done with 2G long ago, and actually we were in the process starting to shut down 3G technology. But man, that's crazy. T-Mobile about to shut down 2G. The end of an era that was long ago. Anyway, Illinois has officially passed their AI safety bill that is putting a moratorium on the construction of any more hyperscaled AI data centers, in addition to any data centers that are going to be put out having to meet a very strict amount of requirements. I think this is huge and might be the first smart thing that Illinois has done in a very, very long time. I should know, they're my neighbors. They're not very smart. Someone in chat says that the 3G network with T-Mobile was shut down July 1st of 2022. Hold up here. They shut down 3G before 2G? Did they just forget that 2G was still? It's like, oh, that thing's still up? Oh, get Chuck to go ahead and shut that down. I can't believe I forgot about that. That's crazy. No, I have no idea if that's anything to do with it. Someone in chat said it had something to do with national. Okay, you know what? Actually, I do recall something about this. This actually is now starting to ring a bell. I do recall actually the older tech being hesitant to be phased out because there was concern that emergency phones would not be able to use more modern cell towers. So I think that's what kept up like the older tech like that. So like people who had like flip burner phones or something like that apparently weren't like accessible or like weren't able to make calls on the newer towers, and that's why 2G had to still be around. This is now actually starting to ring a bell. It was something like that. Don't quote me exactly, but it was something like that. So they finally went ahead, and now all of that older tech is now completely phased out, which, yeah, it's surprising it took this long. But in any case, yeah, I do actually suggest, as far as like these sort of AI laws go, something like this actually do be done. That there should be a strict set of guidelines being set up, because what's going on right now is that in fact a lot of smaller municipalities are basically being bribed by the big AI companies to go ahead and push forward these sort of mega projects. Then these sort of mega data centers go into these small communities. They aren't being built to code. And then it's just a big nuisance to everyone involved in the community. Like I said before, this is actually something that happened south of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A small community out there had a Microsoft data center go in. The data center was not built with the proper sound isolation. So it just gives off a constant hum of all the equipment that's running in there. Which has been a massive disappointment. There's even some communities, like one down in Oklahoma that hit the news recently, where they opened a city hall open forum to talk about reasons the community is against the AI data center. They arrested a man for going 30 seconds over his time talking about the data center and how it shouldn't be built. Like, what's going on right now for these projects is absurd, and there does need to be some guidelines put in. We can't have these data centers just sucking up all of the resources, all of electricity for an entire community, and then the people that are living there have to suffer with it. So no, Illinois did one of the first sensible things they have done in a long, long time. And others should, in fact, follow suit. I actually don't know if I have it in my things here as well. But the state in, oh, actually I do. It's right here. I forgot I couldn't remember if I actually had this story or not. New York also passed a very similar law where they have put a 1-year moratorium on any kind of data center constructions within the state of New York. I want to stress again, this is regarding the state. You know, where it actually matters. No data center's gonna be dumb enough to try and build in the city of New York. Are you crazy? Have you seen real estate prices in New York City? Whoo! That ain't happening. Although it would be really, really funny. It just wouldn't happen though. So yeah, more and more states are doing this sort of stuff. I hope to see more and more news of this sort of stuff. I really, really do. It would be incredible. Someone in chat says that Manhattan turns into a giant data center. Oh man. That would solve something. I don't know what it would solve, but it would solve something. All right, let's actually turn to something else in the AI center. I teased about Linux taking a stand on AI. Now, what do you think the stand is that Linux is taking? This could be a lot of things, right? This could be just about anything. Even though a lot of people are right now fleeing from Microsoft because Microsoft is forcing AI into every part of Windows 11, ruining the experience. And a lot of people are going to Linux as a result. So it's going to be very disappointing to find out that Linus Torvalds, the guy who is like the guy that helps develop the Linux kernel, says that he doesn't care about AI being used to develop for Linux. That it is in fact welcome as long as your code works. You want to know what's crazy? I legitimately do not see a problem with this take. As long as you know the code is good, it's fine. My problem with AI is very simple. I'm annoyed with the fact that we're trying to push AI as this massive solution to all our problems when the end result is crap. I'm against the fact that we're just building massive amounts of data centers for AI where they suck up all the resources, suck up all the water, and it's just a massive, huge problem. But if your end result works and there is no problem, it's fine. I see no problem. I have a problem when a company goes ahead and says that we're going to go ahead and get rid of all our staff, replace them with AI-powered robots, and then cry when you end up paying more to the AI company than you would have to the employees you just fired. I have a problem when the AI data center that is producing nothing but slop videos of fake people trying to sell fake products, or making videos of a guy trying to grill and barbecue a giant chicken wing the size of a 6 foot tall person, then I have a problem with AI. But as long as whatever code you're using with AI is AI assisted does work and the end results are fine, go for it. Just make sure it works. Don't just blindly trust the junk you're putting out. Don't just blindly trust, the code and just say, I'm a great coder, but all you're doing is what we refer to as vibe coding, where you're letting the AI do all the work for you. You do need to verify what the AI does, because AI, as I've said again and again and again, is not there yet. It should be used to verify. You should still be verifying the end results of the AI. Like, for example, you wouldn't trust an AI to just drive a semi-truck. You would still want a CDL driver behind the wheel of the semi-truck the AI is driving to make sure everything is fine. That is what's important. So, as disappointing as some people are going to find it that, Linux, the safe haven from the Windows 11 AI hellscape that it is supporting AI, they're just not going to ban it. You can use AI, your end result, just better work. That's the important part. And of course, you need to also make sure that whatever AI you're using isn't self-defeating. Like the Windows 11 Copilot telling you what is slowing down your PC while it's using 1 gigabyte of RAM all on its own. Oh, thank God it can tell me what's wrong with my PC. It couldn't be it, right? It couldn't be part of the problem, you know, using 10% of the RAM on its own, right? No. It couldn't be. I mean, good tool for someone who's not very computer literate, but I'm just saying that you should also keep in mind that the tool itself might in fact be part of the problem. In fact, depending on your computer, it might in fact be the entire problem. I'm just saying. Just more things to consider with all this. By the way, some good news for you. Patreon is now officially blocking all crawlers from stealing content creators' work so that these crawlers are not snooping around and taking things to be used for AI training. Someone in chat says just buy more RAM. Yeah, let me know how that works for you. First off, if you can find RAM, good luck. It now costs 600% more. Second, good luck finding it to even pay 600% more than you should. Yeah, buy more RAM is not an option nowadays, unfortunately. You gotta download it. Duh. So yeah, Patreon making a good move, telling all the AI crawlers to please go pound sand. Good news all around. Now, let's look at the exact opposite side of the coin. Meta is now letting anyone use your Instagram photos to generate AI images and videos. However, if you don't want that to happen, you need to opt out. You know, I feel like I should say something like we need to go tell someone that, oh, hey, by the way, maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't go ahead and use anything made by Facebook or Meta. But I almost feel like at this point, it's kind of self-evident. Don't post stuff on Facebook. It's going to be used against you for AI or virtual reality or the metaverse or, you know, some other buzzword. And it doesn't matter. Your stuff's still going to be sold. And then the people who buy it are going to have buyer's remorse because the stuff's going to leak out anyway. That's just what they do. In a related story, you should also not stick your hand in the mouse trap. It will close and it will hurt. You also shouldn't go ahead and stick your hand in the fire. Fire is hot. I feel like all of these things are equally universal knowledge at this point. Fire is hot, mousetrap hurts, stove is hot, and Meta is going to sell you out. They're kind of all universal at this point, right? Right? Just maybe a little. Here's another one that should be obvious. Don't post chessboards on Discord you're going to be banned for producing CSAM. What? Yeah, this was a real thing, by the way. Over 8,000 users were banned for posting images with checkerboards in it or any sort of grid. This includes RPG inventories, Minecraft inventory, chess or checkered boards, or any sort of images that have the what is it called? The transparent layer showing. Any of those sort of grids. All because Discord was using a tool from Microsoft that unfortunately was exploited to then think that all things with any sort of grid is inappropriate material. We'll just call it that. We're referring to what is known as CSAM. You know, you call it whatever you want. Well, that's the term that gets me the least flagged. Now, at first, this of course was being blamed on AI. It's not actually AI. It's actually older than that. It's a service that Microsoft offers for free that many companies use. This was actually powered by old-fashioned machine learning. Whoops. The vulnerability has since been patched. Discord alleges, or Discord claims is the better phrase, that all people that were mistakenly banned have now been unbanned and all is well. But you know, if you ever think for a minute that the machines are infallible and are perfect in every way, shape, and form, just remember the time when chess was banned on Discord. Never forget. Also, it's funny enough that someone earlier was mentioning if you have RAM problems, just go ahead and buy more RAM. Because we're now actually getting to the point where computer manufacturers are getting desperate to find sources of RAM and storage. In fact, it's now reported that Lenovo laptops are now shipping with YMTC SSDs, which are Chinese-made NAND flash. So we now have one of the first cases of Chinese-made NAND entering the mainstream computer market. This is where we're at now, where we are so desperate for any kind of salvation from the RAM and SSD shortage that we're going with random sketchy Chinese pop-up company that only existed this year. These are strange times in the computer space. Very, very, very strange times. I mean, heck, a $500 portable game console actually sounds like a good deal. Strange times indeed. You don't remember the original price of the Game Boy? I don't know how much the original Game Boy cost. But I remember I bought a Game Boy Pocket for $70. $70. That's all it took. Just several weeks of allowance. Bam. Video games in your pocket. Now, $500. And that's a steal. That's a good deal. That's a good deal for a console nowadays. All I can do is shake my head. It's not like there's any good signs from the industry right now. Microsoft just cut 4,800 jobs across their sales teams and their Xbox team. So, you know, that's a sign and a half. Just one big old batch of it is what it is, right? And of course, it's not like it got better. That old Xbox laying off thing was part of a huge, what they're calling the resetting of Xbox. And this all comes down to one big factor, okay? Do you know what kept all of Xbox afloat? What kept Xbox profitable? Go on, guess. There's one thing, one singular thing that made sure all the bills at Xbox kept getting paid. Zone in chat says Halo. Good guess. No. But you're on the right track. It's Minecraft. Minecraft has been single-handedly keeping Xbox afloat. Everything else regarding Xbox, the purchasing of all these companies, all these game studios, developing all these consoles, trying to go ahead and turn Xbox Live and all the subscriptions into a loss leader sort of thing that they're going to make their money back eventually. All of these stupid decisions kept afloat by Minecraft. Here's the problem. Minecraft is old. The only sales of Minecraft that are still happening to this day are probably the handful of people who are convinced to get back into it, couldn't remember their password, and then found out that their account was lost when Microsoft bought Minecraft way back in the day. Not that I can relate to that, it was me. I'm part of the problem. So you can't rely on new Minecraft sales to keep Xbox afloat. So what do you do? Well, if you're Microsoft, you either A, hope you can buy the next Minecraft, which they've been trying to do, or you do what they're doing right now. You admit you have a problem and you start looking to trim the fat. The problem, though, is that you possibly start trimming a little too much meat with the fat. Someone in chat said buy Roblox. Do not buy Roblox. No. No. Oh God, no. Do not buy Roblox. That's a bad plan. Oh God, that's like buying a lawsuit. Oh God, no. But anyway, the problem that Xbox has is they're trying to go ahead and trim the fat, which they probably need to do for a long time, is the fact that they are, in fact, trimming off some high-end talent. Such as over at Bethesda, they have laid off the artists that were responsible for designing a lot of the core concepts within the Elder Scrolls, including designing the Rajit and the Angolians. Sorry, Argolians. So there's clear signs that they're cutting a little too deep. A little too deep. So what's it going to mean for all the companies, you know, under Microsoft's umbrella now? I don't know. Now, I will say, people are trying to get me to pronounce things correctly, and then here's my response. To anyone saying that I'm mispronouncing a fantasy race incorrectly, moving on, though. So other people are saying that also they should have cut more on the top. They already did in one major way. They got rid of the former heads of Xbox. So, I mean, there already have been some major layoffs in that regard. Like, they're out. Should there be some more cuts off the top? Maybe. I unfortunately do not have Xbox's books in front of me. I wish I did, though. That would be amazing. I'd love to have those books in front of me. I don't, unfortunately. So for now, all we can do is wait and see. And, I mean, Bethesda's gonna have to make Elder Scrolls 6 at some point. We'll have to see who ends up designing the new Rajitas and the Argonamians. And I do hope that those who are laid off either A, are in a position where they can very safely retire and everything is good for them anyway, or B, that their legendary talent is picked up by other studios. That's all we can hope for in this day and age, unfortunately. It just is what it is. We're going to take probably our last break here. When we come back, I want to talk about an update to Valve's hardware, both the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right. You swear you have the brain of a 60-year-old already, so you're effed. What's worse is that the tea I'm drinking right now is sweetened with aspartame, so I guess I guess my brain's a raisin now. Feels bad. It's gonna look like those claymation California raisins. That's just what's dancing around in my head now. Feels bad. I'm just a shriveled prune singing the saxophone. What happened to those things? At least it has wrinkles. Yeah, we need to rehydrate it so it gets smooth again. Wait. All right, we got a little under an hour. We can actually get to raid on time this time. What a strange and novel concept that is. You're setting a reminder to ask Alexa later. Are you allowed to ask Alexa right now or no? Or is it actually like disabled like it should be? It doesn't look like it is. It is disabled, okay. At least that works. All right, let's actually finish up so you guys can ask your stupid questions to an idiot later. 3, 2, 1. Wonder how many people can recognize that chip tune. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. Valve has done you a favor for some reason on the Steam Deck. You can now, if you so choose, get all the drivers so that you can install Windows 11 on your Steam Deck. So if you hate yourself and you really want to torture the poor piece of hardware that is intentionally built to be underpowered and power efficient and have it try to take on a load that's heavier than it should be handling, by all means, you can go ahead and do that. Valve is giving you the drivers to do that. I'll just tell you this right now. You really shouldn't do that. Please don't install Windows 11 on your Steam Deck. Please have more respect for your hardware than that. Please. Pretty please. And while you're at it, you should also make sure that if you're one of the lucky few that have the GabeCube, I mean the Steam machine, you should go ahead and update the BIOS on it. There is a BIOS update out now for the Steam machine because there was a bit of an issue with the GabeCube. All right, so the GabeCube had what people are referring to as the red line of death. And actually, there's two different kinds of red line of death errors. Okay, one indicates a GPU hardware failure. This is very, 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 very uncommon. A few units had this issue. No follow-up on those yet. I imagine they're just, getting that taken care of. Okay. The other red line of death is involving overheating. The problem is actually not that the GabeCube has inferior cooling. Okay, well, it kind of does. It is just a cube after all. But the actual problem is the fact that the threshold for when it gives these critical heat load shutdown errors is occurring as low as 80 Celsius. Now, there's several reactions you have to that. There are those you going, 80 Celsius, that's really high. Others you are going, what's a Celsius? 80 Fahrenheit's not that high at all. Is that close? And there's others of you that are going, wait, but my GPU runs at 80 Celsius now. And that last group are the people that are correct. Modern GPUs can run roughly around the 75 to 80 Celsius mark quite commonly. So it's getting to the high end of normal operating temperatures and shutting down as a result. In fact, I'll just tell you this right now. Under load, my gaming computer runs at about 80 Celsius. I need to get more fans in there, to be honest, but I digress. So there is going to be a BIOS update that changes what the danger temperatures are set to so that now critical temp warnings and shutdowns will occur now at above 100 Celsius, which, by the way, on the silicon that the Steam machine is running, 100 Celsius is when the hardware normally starts to throttle itself because of thermals. So now we're starting to see, a more realistic temperature threshold. So if you're one of the lucky few that have the GabeCube, I mean the Steam machine, update the BIOS. You'll thank yourself later. While we're at it, though, if you're trying to go ahead and make a game for Steam, let me give you some word of advice. if you're a game designer and listen to this podcast, first off, send us an email. I'm actually curious. I'm curious what you're working on. You know, it sounds really cool. Second, make your game longer than 2 hours. One developer did not take that advice. They made a brand new game, and the game had a runtime of less than 2 hours. Here's the problem. Steam has a mandatory refund policy, or not a mandatory, but it's mandatory that all games support this refund policy, that a game can be refunded automatically if the refund is requested and there's less than 2 hours of playtime. The developer made a game that's only 2 hours long. Large chunk of their user base, over 55,000 players, played, completed the game, and then returned it, taking advantage of this 2 hour refund policy. The worst part is, many of these players left a positive review and then refunded the game. Okay. I don't know what the correct answer is here, to be honest. I don't know if Valve really does need to rethink their refund policy. Like, if the user got like certain achievements, is the refund no longer valid? But then devs can find a way to exploit that too. I mean, here's what I would just say, okay? As a game developer, maybe try to make sure your game has more than 2 hours of content in it. I would say that's the easiest thing here. Because I don't know how expensive this game was. But I'd honestly say that if the game only has 2 hours of content in it, I'd be a little pissed and just want my money back on those grounds alone. All depending on the price. Like, if I paid, $1 for it, maybe 2 hours is fine. I don't know. I'm more in the boat that, maybe the dev should have cooked a little longer. Maybe they should have gone ahead and added more levels. Maybe they should have added a hard mode. There should have been something there so that there's just more than 2 hours of content, in my opinion. But I can kind of see both sides on this. And I'm not going to be the one to go ahead and say which way it should go. That's a hard one to go ahead and get going. I think even Fever Meme, which was like a rage bait machine of a game that really wasn't that long. I think even that I clocked in more than 2 hours on. Well, while over on the Valve side of things, people debate whether a dev should make a game longer than 2 hours, or if Valve needs to go ahead and tweak the return policy, Sony can go ahead and face a $450 million lawsuit because they decided discs suck. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I do find really, really funny. Here's the other thing in this too. As far as Sony killing off physical media, I don't know if this lawsuit is going to go anywhere. I don't know the merits of it. I'm not even going to pretend I read the merits of it, if there even is a case. I'm also, this might come as a shock to you. Brace yourselves. I'm not a lawyer. So I don't know how much validity this has. But there's something really funny about Sony killing off physical media. I want you to go back in time with me for a second. Do you remember not all that long ago when there was a game on Steam called Helldivers 2? But a lot of regions couldn't play it because Helldivers 2 required you to make a Sony online account, a PlayStation account, and a lot of areas couldn't make a PlayStation account because the PlayStation Store was not available in their area. You remember that, right? How Sony required that connection. A lot of places are going to get that connection. Sony's made no announcement to fix that sort of issue. I mean, they did for Helldivers 2. Don't misunderstand me. They did go ahead and eventually make it so that anyone could helldive. They took away that requirement. But let's pretend that the future is now. You can no longer get any kind of physical media for the PlayStation. This now means all the areas that have a PlayStation in them now have useless bricks because they can no longer get physical games and they cannot download new games because there is no internet access to the Sony Store because the Sony Store is not available in those countries. That the only way these areas right now are even Sony customers is because of discs. Like, not only is this not good for the preservation of media, it's not good for the short term. Like, did you think this through, Sony? Did you? I'm more impressed they're just deciding to move forward with this because it's, well, in the end, it's pretty funny, not gonna lie. By the by, shifting gears wildly, I want to talk about phones that are not friendly to the budget. And in hindsight, I should have had this segment earlier. We now have leaks regarding the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8 and the Z Fold 8 Ultra. as well as the Z Fold Flip. The Z Fold 8, the Z Flip 8 is going to start at $1,149 Doctor Who dollars, which, give me a second to go ahead and translate that to US dollars. That is going to translate to roughly $1,544.82 in Freedom Bucks. The Fold 8 is going to start at $1,699 Doctor Who dollars, which translates roughly to $22.84 Freedom dollars, with a Fold 8 Ultra going for $1,899 Doctor Who dollars, which goes to roughly $25.53 Freedom dollars. I'm just saying, these phones are getting more expensive, and the interior screen can be scratched with a fingernail. Permanent deformation can happen with your fingernail. And the cheapest of these phones, if these prices are correct, cost more than my rent. Heck, 2 of these phones cost more than my car. Look, I get it. RAM is very expensive. Solid state storage, also very expensive right now. And it's all thanks to our best friend, AI. I get, Samsung, that you need to go ahead and charge these outrageous prices for these high-end devices because it requires a lot of RAM, a lot of silicon to go ahead and make them. I get that. That's your prerogative, and I don't blame you for it. Just don't be surprised when I don't buy them, because I literally, not figuratively, literally have better things to do with that kind of money. Oh, and by the way, scalpers, you should absolutely get a hold of these. I really, really want them, and I will pay any amount of money for them. You definitely, scalpers, will not get stuck with these devices and be out thousands of dollars. No siree, no. This is guaranteed money, wink, wink, for any scalpers that want to go ahead and get this, for sure. The demand is going to be sky high. You could buy these for these outrageous prices and definitely get at least 20 times your payback, for sure. For sure. Go quickly, run off, scalpers. Ignore the part where I tell you sucks to suck. Just saying. That being said, though, while high-end modern storage is very expensive, there is a lot of dirt cheap scrap SSD drives out there. like SSDs that are only like 64, 128 gigabytes on much lower end tech that are just kind of clogging up landfills, right? These sort of things exist. And on top of that, we live in an era right now where the great debate of physical media versus digital media is hotly contested. And one of the biggest criticisms that PlayStation fanboys have to any of us PC guys is that, well, you guys in Steam have been digital only forever, so it's fine for us. You know, ignoring every little other detail on it and sounding exactly like that. Don't lie to me, Sony fanboys. That's exactly how you sound. You sound that annoying and obnoxious. You need to stop. It's really ugly and really depressing. Someone, however, has a solution. Yeah, Steam doesn't have physical media. But what if it can? A crazy person out there has 3D printed a setup to turn low-end SATA SSDs into cartridges that can hold Steam games. The way it works is really, really funny. I'm not going to lie. So all they did is that they wrote a script. Once the SATA drive is plugged into a dock, it automatically loads the game into Steam, then updates it, and then thanks to a script, automatically starts the title to give you basically the exact same feeling of physical media for Steam. Now, honestly, this is really more of a novelty than something practical. But really, there's nothing stopping anyone from doing this other than not having, you know, a SATA dock or having a whole bunch of older SATA SSDs lying around. But you got to give the guy credit. He did it. There you go. Physical media right there for your Steam machine. Take that, GabeCube haters. We found a solution. And other people are finding a solution to what's going on with the PS5. Because, of course, there's going to be no physical media. You're going to have a real problem trying to play PlayStation games on your PS5 without just giving into the store. You know, unless PS5 emulation just suddenly decides to ramp up. Oh, wait. I guess that happened, didn't it? Yeah, there are now working PS5 emulators. Not fully refined yet, but it is properly, and this is the big hurdle, it is properly bypassing the PS5's DRM. And if you don't know, this is one of the biggest hurdles to overcome in any kind of video game emulation. There's still a long way to go as far as optimization goes. You do need a lot more hardware. Then it is not, like, you are not going to be able to get the same kind of performance on your computer with this emulator as you would on a real PS5. But it finally happened. They finally found a way to get past the biggest hurdles when it comes to PS5 emulation. So while not ready yet for the average person, still bravo. Now, maybe the PS5 emulator would run better on brand new NVIDIA cards, right? Well, good news. NVIDIA has brand new cards that are being sent out. The problem is that they're trading cards. I'm serious. NVIDIA now put out trading cards. Now, fortunately, my first thought, and probably your first thought when being introduced to this, is that this is yet another massive, heartless, brain-dead cash grab by NVIDIA. Here's the thing. They're not for sale. Right now, these trading cards are only available during NVIDIA promo events. They're being given away for free during some of their events that they are appearing at. So things like gaming conventions or tech conventions or things like that, these sort of trading cards are being given away. So, you know, not quite a total heartless cash grab. But I am just saying that I guarantee you the person who is going to be selling the most number of GeForce trading cards is definitely going to be some kind of NVIDIA exec that kept like an entire pallet of these to himself. And it's just going to go ahead and cash in on a whole bunch of suckers when people try to go ahead and sell these on eBay. I'm not saying that's definitely what they're going to be doing. Nor would I declare that is definitely what's going to happen. I would never imply that any NVIDIA executive would dare to go ahead and do something like that. But some NVIDIA exec is definitely going to do that. Like, right? You know, why can't NVIDIA be more like the CEO of Level 5? And instead of trying to go ahead and have a cash grab of trading cards, go ahead and say, hey, staff, you can get pay raises by answering these trivia questions about our own games. Level 5, the company in charge of the Professor Layton games and many, many other cherished video games, including Ni no Kuni, and they also worked on some Dragon Quest stuff as well, say that they will give their own staff pay raises for correctly answering quizzes about their own games. I'm not gonna lie, I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, I do believe that your pay in a company should directly reflect your performance within that company. On the other hand, this is the first time I've gotten news about a gaming company that isn't directly evil. And honestly is kind of funny in a weird sort of way. The other thing also to point out that could be a big factor in this, we are talking about a Japanese company. And anytime we talk about news from a Japanese company, there is a very real chance that things are lost in translation. The only reason I bring this up is that this could very well be that they offered bonuses, one-time bonuses to their staff for answering quiz questions, as opposed to a raise. I feel a raise should be based on you know, your performance, your ongoing pay within the company. But honestly, like a one-time bonus for going ahead and just being knowledgeable about the lore of the games you're working on, and you want to give a one-time bonus for that, go ahead. I think that's cool. I think in that regard, there's a big difference. And there is a very real possibility that something like that was lost in translation. So before we go ahead and like get an opinion about it, it's important to consider all the possibilities. Just like you should consider all the possibilities if you're a bunch of delinquent teens and get into a self-driving vehicle. 2 teens went ahead and used a Waymo self-driving taxi as a getaway vehicle after causing problems. And these kids were going ahead, they were drinking and shooting while going on their little crime spree. And when they used the Waymo vehicle as a getaway vehicle, instead, the self-driving taxi dropped off the teens at the police station. Whoops. Now, obviously, the self-driving taxi was informed by either, most likely what happened, and I have to assume this because the article doesn't say, most likely what happened was that Waymo noticed some things were going on through the cameras of the Waymo, called the cops because they realized they witnessed a crime. The cops told them, can you just redirect those kids over to our station? They said yes, and they just did exactly that. I don't think the self-driving taxi went ahead and did it all on its own. Regardless, though, it's still really, really funny. And really, those kids really should have just gone ahead and just stayed in school. They really should have gone ahead and listened to our last story, the last burb, the last story of the week, and by far the most insane story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know you can earn a $15,000 a year scholarship for being good at video games? This is from the University of Silicon Valley, offering up to a $15,000 a year scholarship just by having verifiable achievements in a video game. And I'll just tell you this right now, okay? I have looked at some of these, okay? By far, without a shadow of a doubt, by far, the easiest one to get is the what they call the mastery tier for the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV, which includes a free trial up to level 80, including the award-winning expansion Shadowbringers with no restriction on playtime. To go ahead and be qualified for this scholarship, you need to have all jobs at level 100, which, by the way, is a task you can accomplish in 1 or 2 months. It's not that hard. It just requires a lot of dedication, a lot of time, and persistence. You need to clear all of the role quests, which is really, really easy. It just takes time. And my personal favorite, clear all 12 extreme trials. The reason why this is extra funny to me is that each expansion has 7 extreme trials. We are currently up to how many? How many expansions? A Realm Reborn, Heaven's Ward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, Endwalker, Dawntrail. We have 7 expansions. That's 49 extreme trials. Except I lied, because there's also 2 extreme trials for each of the Monster Hunter for each of the Monster Hunter crossovers. Except I also lied. There's also one more that was part of the Baja expansion. So we have something close to what, 52 extreme trials? Assuming I didn't miscount. All you gotta do is clear 12. All you gotta do is clear all 12 of them. Wait. Now, I think what they meant to say was all 12 Savage raids. Because each expansion does have 12 Savage raids, with the exception of Realm Reborn. So just have the 12 most current raids done. Yeah, okay, that's more feasible, more realistic, rather than making that. The point is that I apparently could go ahead and just get a $15,000 a year scholarship. What to, I don't know. The point is, you can get through college thanks to the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV with a free trial up to level 80 with no restriction on playtime. Because that's the world we live in. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening, and I do encourage you to check out my other stuff at youtube.com/EagleFalcon and twitch.tv/EagleFalcon. Take care, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye. Look, what I want to know is why can't I go ahead and get credit for having cleared everything in Chrono Trigger? What, do we not appreciate the classics? I've done everything in Chrono Trigger. I've gotten all endings. I've went and killed Lavo solo with just Chrono. I've gone ahead and gotten to the secret dev room. I've gone ahead and gotten to level 99 and defeated the max level Specchio. I've done everything there. Come on, Silicon Valley, is that not worth your time? Fine, I guess I'll go back to FF14, I guess. That's it. Podcast is in the books. For those of you who are actually curious about that thing, I did post the actual page from usv.edu in our Discord's meme channel. You can go ahead and take a look there. We're gonna go ahead and take a break here, get up and stretch. I gotta go and make the podcast, and we're gonna switch over to FF14 rating. We will be right back.